In this video I will teach you a new chess tactic called interference. Hey! I thought you weren't supposed to interfere. Well, you're not allowed to interfere with the game next to you, but you are allowed to interfere with your opponent's plans. Let's look at a simple example. It's black to move, and black would like to promote the h2 pawn, but this plan is stopped by white's rook. If black pushes the pawn forward and turns it into a queen, white's rook will take it. And now white will win. So let's go back and see if black can find a better plan. Here we are again. What move should black play? Interference is when you put a piece in the way of an enemy piece. In this position, black can interfere with the white rook. Now the white rook can't stop the black pawn getting to the end of the board. Black will turn the pawn into a queen and win the game. How about this example? It's white to move. Black has a strong attack, but white is attacking too. However, this checkmate threat is defended by black's c3 bishop, and queen takes rook is defended by black's e2 rook. But Miles noticed that both of black's lines of defence go through e5. So he put his bishop there, blocking both lines of defence. Now white's bishop is totally undefended, and black has 3 pieces that can take the bishop. But if black takes with a rook, the rook will block the c3 bishop's defence of checkmate on g7. And if black takes with the bishop, the black rooks won't be defending each other anymore. Interference moves can be some of the most ingenious moves in chess. In this position it is white to move. Swedish Grandmaster Emanuel Berg failed to find the winning move here, and the game ended in a draw. Can you do any better? White's queen would like to attack along this diagonal, but black's rook and bishop have those squares covered. But do you notice that these lines of defence cross each other, just like in our previous example? This white knight is defending the queen, so we wouldn't normally want to move it. But whenever your opponent's rook defence and bishop defence cross each other, you should think about interfering. White's queen is undefended, and white's knight is not safe here on f6. Black attacks it with the rook and bishop, with the queen lined up to help too. So why does this move win the game? Well, the knight interferes with black's rook and bishop, and it's not in the way of white's rook anymore. How many checkmates is white threatening? The queen would be defended by the knight on h7. The rook would be defended by the knight on g8. With the white knight blocking black's bishop and the white rook defending the queen, this is checkmate number 3. And with the white knight blocking black's rook, the queen is safe on f8. Checkmate number 4. Can black do anything to stop all these checkmate threats? Well, if black takes white's queen, it stops 3 of the checkmates. But the rook can still give checkmate. If black's bishop takes the knight, it stops 3 of the checkmates, but it gets in the way of black's rook. And if black's rook takes the knight, it stops 3 of the checkmates, but it gets in the way of black's bishop. This example is a bit easier. White needs to get the A pawn safely to the end of the board to win this game, but at the moment, black's bishop is in the way. Can you think 1.5 moves ahead and use the interference tactic to clear the path for the pawn? First, white forces the black bishop out of the way. But it's still stopping the pawn. If white moves the pawn, black will take it, and white will only have a knight left, not enough to give checkmate. So what should white do? Interference. White's knight blocks black's bishop, and it can't stop the pawn anymore. Final example from way back in 1961, and it's white to move. Can you find white's winning interference move? Here's a clue. Black's queen is defending black's a8 rook. The bishop is safe here. Black has 2 attackers, but white has 2 defenders, and the bishop has blocked the black queen's defence of the a8 rook, so black's rook is lost. It doesn't really matter whether you remember the name, interference, as long as you remember that sometimes your pieces can be a real nuisance, just by getting in the way.